Hello, and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm making a unicorn card using perfect pearls. To start off with, I'm going to be stamping the inside sentiment of the card using Hello Bluebird's Unicorn Tails stamp set, and I'm using some old stamp pads from Stampin' Up, a purple and a pink because that's her favorite colors. So the sentiment says, I hope your day is magical, and then I stamped a unicorn above the sentiment and also some shooting stars below the sentiment. I'm using a piece of black cardstock for my card panel, and I'm just using my stencil here to figure out where I want to stamp the sentiment on the front of the card. And this is just a happy birthday stamp from Stampin' Up. And I'm going to be using my VersaMark ink pad to stamp my sentiment, and then I use some Ranger pink tinsel embossing powder to heat emboss my sentiment. Now I did this because I didn't know how the perfect pearls would work with the sentiment, but it turned out since these letters are wider, I could have just done that and not done the heat embossing. So you would do the same thing. You would just stamp your happy birthday with your VersaMark ink and use your perfect pearls, whichever color you wanted to use for your sentiment. And that way you wouldn't have to do heat embossing. I did have trouble with the bee stamping correctly and getting the embossing powder to stick to it, so I just used my distress marker to draw the rest of the bee that didn't show up. And also I used my brush to wipe off the extra embossing powder. One of the advantages of using perfect pearls is that it shows up on dark cardstock, so you can use black, navy blue, or anything else that's really dark. And it's kind of a powdery substance that's shiny, and it just needs something sticky to stick to. So you can use your embossing inks for it to stick to. So in this case, I'm using my Distress Embossing Dauber to go through this stencil, and this is a unicorn stencil that I got at Hobby Lobby. If there's a link to it on an internet site, I'll put that in the description below. The perfect pearls, you just kind of dry paint onto the area that's sticky, and it comes in different colors. So I'm just taking some brushes and dusting the powder on the sections where I want it. So I'm using the Biscotti color for the horse. And you don't have to worry about once you've got it on there, you don't want to just keep putting more on. So only the layer that's touching the distress embossing ink is what's going to stick. So then I just continue putting on different colors of perfect pearls in the areas where I want them. So I used perfect pearls, which is kind of a white translucent one, for the horn. I used turquoise for the flourishes underneath the horse, and Forever Violet for the mane. Now you don't have to worry if you get some of the wrong color over the top of another one, because if you've already covered the ink with a different color, the one on top of that isn't going to stick since there's no more ink for it to stick to. Before I reused any of my brushes, I just wiped them off with a baby wipe, so that way I didn't cross-contaminate any of my perfect pearl jars, so it didn't get the colors mixed together. Then you just use a brush to dust off all the extra powder, and since you're going to have powders all different colors, you just want to throw that away. So I'm doing it over an old coffee filter, so I can just throw that apart away. I used to use these coffee filters when I had a tea business, so I made tea at a farmer's market, so I don't need these anymore, so I don't mind throwing them away. If you don't have something like that, just an old scrap of paper will also work. Then just coming back again with my stencil and my Distress Embossing Dauber so I can add some of these retro looking stars onto my card. Then I just add some more of the turquoise powder to my stars and wipe it off the same way I did before. So you can see how this is a really quick way to add color to a card as opposed to coloring with markers or pencils. This is really fast. It's a little messy, but it's really not that much messy if you keep it contained. Now to get the powder to set, you just have to spray it a little bit with water. Most people show spraying a little water in the air with a mister and then just kind of put your card through the mist. I was trying to use my mini mister, which is mostly water with a little bit of pearl mixed in to make my card shiny. Then I just adhere my card panel to my card base with some Nuvo Deluxe glue, and I add some heart gems to the front of my card as some extra embellishment. And then I use my Glossy Accents to add some gems from Pretty Pink Posh. And the ones I'm using are Aquamarine and Purple. Well, the great thing about using the perfect pearls for this is that the card came together pretty quickly. I'm used to making interactive cards or scene cards, which usually take quite a bit of time to make, where this one did not take a lot of time. So it's good being able to have some card techniques that don't take as much time. The other thing I like about this technique is it kind of reminds me of back in the 70s, maybe sometime in the 80s, but definitely the 60s and 70s. You would see these paintings on black velvet. That's what it reminds me of. I'll put a list of all the products that I'm using in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links, so they don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my channel. If you like the video, please give it a like, and if you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.